you recognize a filmmaker's work from a single frame? What makes this shot so iconic? Today, we're going to look at the formal techniques and directing style of David Fincher.
My philosophy is, we shot 7 takes. Okay, now let's start. It takes titanium and aluminum and steel and glass to do one thing, impart feeling to everyone in the audience at the exact same time. And that's the magic of cinema.
And how those techniques, used in combination, create such memorable and striking films. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to our channel and click the bell for more filmmaking techniques. Let's get into it. David Fincher's movies deal with dark subject matter, and this video contains examples of graphic content. You've been warned. Fincher goes out of his way to provide an immersive experience, and he builds his worlds one detail at a time. We're going to show you 7 key areas of focus so that you can see how every little decision makes up the entire picture. Let's break down Fincher's cinematic language.
The first rule of Fight Club is, you do not talk about Fight Club.
First, let's talk about story. Fincher's power is deception. But how deep does this deception go? And what effect does this have on the audience? Our narrator in Fight Club is so successful at deception, he's deceived himself completely.
Say it. Because we're the same person.
That's right.
In House of Cards, are we objective spectators to Frank Underwood's rise to power? Or are we also susceptible to his manipulation?
He chose money over power. In this town, a mistake nearly everyone makes. Money is the McMansion in Sarasota that starts falling apart after 10 years. Power is the old stone building that stands for centuries. I cannot respect someone who doesn't see the difference.
Gone Girl is the ultimate example of he said, she said. The ocean of lies and deception is impossible to navigate. For Fincher, there is absolutely a dark side to humanity, and sometimes that darkness wins.
If you kill him, he will win.
Next, let's talk about production design. Production design is all about the look of a film, and there are few better-looking films than Fincher's. The locations, wardrobe, props. His attention to detail is rumored to border on obsessive. For example, Fight Club tells the story of a man unsatisfied with the life he is living, and the seduction of a very different life, where rules and expectations disappear. Fincher presents these contrasting worldviews within the sets. Witness the lifeless monotony of the narrator's home and his workspace. Then our hero meets
Tyler Durden.
the antidote to his misery. Tyler has transcended the prison of conformity and embraced pure personal freedom.
Fuck off with your sofa units and string green stripe patterns. I say stop being perfect.
And this lawlessness is embodied in Tyler's decrepit and discarded house on Paper Street. It's a rotting place, with walls shedding their skins and leaking ceilings dripping rusty water. It is the furthest thing from the IKEA model home the narrator thought he wanted. And it is the perfect birthplace for the new man he will become. Remember that a character is defined by their environment. Fincher and his art department are meticulous about it. Next, color. David Fincher is not a colorful director. Locations are typically color graded to a uniform shade, either green, blue, or red. But without question, Fincher's favorite color is yellow. There are dozens of instances when he tints an interior nighttime scene with yellow light. This is so consistent, in fact, that when Fincher does include a contrasting color, it stands out that much more. It means something. Let's look at this scene from Gone Girl.
As you know, my wife disappeared from our home on the morning of July 5th.
Notice how color can draw our eyes and our attention. All eyes are on Nick. Amy's parents are both in brown and neutral tones, as is the background. Amy's parents represent a united front, dedicated to finding their daughter. Nick's blue shirt stands out like a sore thumb, and the suspicion around him is instant.
If anyone out there has any information, please come forward. Thank you.
Nick is not visually connected to them or their cause. He is alone and remains the primary suspect. If you're interested in applying color theory, like Fincher does, to your own projects, check the description for a free ebook that provides film color palettes from some of your favorite films. Let's move on. Cinematography. Fincher accomplishes a lot of storytelling with his camera. A rack focus to capture a character's realization.
Mark! He's wired in.
He tends to let action play out in wide frames, cutting to inserts and close-ups only when necessary. Fincher doesn't move the camera very often, but when he does, there is always a purpose. A tiny pan here, an ever so slight tilt there. It is all about identifying with the character. If they move, we move. But his mastery of the camera goes a step further. How does Fincher move the camera to suggest a character's mental state? In Panic Room, we have two shots that illustrate a very specific mental state: claustrophobia. In this early scene, Meg is taking a tour of a new house.
We like to call it a townstone, built in 1879.
When the realtor shows Meg the panic room,
It's called a panic room.
and closes the door, it is here that we learn about Meg's fear of compact spaces. The camera pans around her while zooming in, compressing the space. You could feel the air being sucked out of the room.
Oh my God. Old Sidney didn't miss a trick, did he?
Open it, please.
And with kids like he's apparently got, no wonder he wanted a place to hide.
Please open the door.
That is highly inappropriate.
Open the door, please.
We get a reversal of this shot at the very end of the film. Now that Meg and her daughter have survived their harrowing home invasion, they are free of the panic room and the house altogether. The camera executes a dolly zoom by pushing forward while zooming out. The characters stay the same size, but the world around them opens up. All of the tension and claustrophobia is now released. It breathes. The effect is subtle, but meaningful. Fincher often uses camera movements to align us with his character's internal states. His camera movements tend to be as subtle or as grand as his character's behavior. Next, let's talk about editing. Fincher edits with the audience in mind. If the character notices something, we see what they see. When a character makes connections in their head, we are able to follow their train of thought through purposeful shot composition and editing.
Hello, Martin.
Here is a great example of how to construct a scene using a combination of framing, blocking, and editing. Arthur Lee Allen is suspected to be the Zodiac killer when he is brought to a room to answer questions. This scene is all about the detective's suspicion of Allen. He is the focus. We begin with a POV shot of what Allen sees walking into the room.
Mr. Allen, I'm Inspector Bill Armstrong, this is Inspector Dave Tosky, and Sergeant Jack Mullinax. We're investigating the Zodiac murders in San Francisco and Vallejo.
When the men sit, they are positioned purposefully, creating two opposing sides, here and here.
Have you ever read or heard anything about the Zodiac?
When it was first in the paper, but I didn't follow it after those first reports.
The scene is edited through various perspectives.
I told all this to the other officer.
Which other officer?
Depending on who is talking and who is listening.
I told him that I'd gone to Salt Point that weekend.
When Alan crosses his legs, we cut to a low-angle shot. In the same frame, we can see Detective Mullinax notice the boot. We know what kind of boots the Zodiac wears, and when he notices the boot, we notice the boot. A similar moment happens when Detective Tasky notices Alan's Zodiac watch. We have a close-up of Tasky's attention being drawn to Alan's wrist, followed immediately by a POV insert of the watch. Again, we see these moments through the eyes of a detective. It engages our imagination, and we become the detectives.
Well, I guess I was there around that time. I used to go down there a lot.
We are given a quickly paced series of shots. This creates a controlled, logical momentum that keeps the audience engaged and propels the story forward. We've created a breakdown, shot by shot, spec by spec. The link is in the description. Moving on. Sound. This is an area where Fincher typically has a light touch. Beyond the necessary sounds like a door closing or someone walking, Fincher chooses more expressive sound design moments carefully. A great example is this scene from Panic Room.
Go.
As Meg makes a daring attempt to retrieve her cell phone while the intruders are distracted, the entire moment is tensely drawn out with abstract and delayed droning sounds. In Fight Club, when the narrator first encounters Marla Singer, her presence in his world is disruptive. As he tries to listen to the group, the narrator hears a loud click. When her lighter catches flame, we hear an exaggerated sound effect, almost like a flamethrower. Marla has become a threat to the narrator's world. She is an invader, and we hear this through the sound design. Perhaps Fincher's best and most expressive use of sound design can be found in Gone Girl. When Amy and Desi are making love, make sure the young ones are out of the room because this scene gets messy. We begin to hear a slow, rhythmic pulse. The sound and image combination mimics his experience. Each pulse like a bleeding heart. And when the bleeding slows, the sound slows with it. Fincher uses sound to creatively align with a character's experience. If you want to use sound design like David Fincher, keep these strategies in mind. Our final stop. Let us take a listen to David Fincher's music. Music is yet another element that Fincher uses with great purpose. Their inclusion is either thematic or ironic. For irony, we have the haunting subversion of Donovan's hurdy-gurdy man in Zodiac.
Man, you really creeped us out.
or Enya's peaceful and innocent Orinoco flow during a torture scene. But he also likes to select songs with lyrics that echo the themes of his films.
Where is my mind? Where is my mind? Where is my mind?
But let's look at a scene that uses music to suggest character, setting, and theme. The Henley Royal Regatta in The Social Network. This sequence stands out in Fincher's work because it is crafted completely around the music. In this case, we have a rendition of In the Hall of the Mountain King by Edvard Grieg. The music is a classical piece written in 1875 and matches the rich tradition of the regatta itself, which has been running since 1839. But this scene takes place in the mid-2000s, and our story involves the tech world. The composers, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, took the classical and recreated it with a mix of acoustic and electronic instruments. It is a clash of old and new, classical and modern. The purpose is to convey the Winklevoss twins' upper-class pedigree and their competitive personalities. But the Winklevoss twins lose their race, just like they are losing their battle with Zuckerberg. David Fincher is in complete command of his medium.
Got it! Moving on. Cut, new deal.
He understands how techniques like a moving camera and editing can engage an audience on an emotional and intellectual level. There are many lessons to learn from Fincher, and what we've touched upon here in this video is just the beginning. Are you inspired by David Fincher? Do you want to continue your exploration of his techniques? The Studio Binder blog offers numerous articles and videos about filmmaking and auteurs like Fincher. Click the bell icon to subscribe to our channel and stay up to date with videos like these. Which filmmaker should we cover next? Share your suggestions in the comments. It's important to take your filmmaking seriously. Just don't take it as far as John Doe.
What I've done is going to be puzzled over and studied and followed forever.
Yeah. Delusions of grandeur.
You should be thanking me.
Why's that, John?
Because you're going to be remembered after